Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of Phantom Curiosities. It's been a while, but we are back with one of the creepiest, scariest characters that came from real life television, Mr. Blobby. So sit back and relax and let's go into this terrifying pink blobbed character coming from the UK and how Mr. Blobby became a well-known mascot for a theme park and came to you in real life. In the early 90s in England, there was a really popular Saturday TV show called Noel's House Party, founded by Noel Edmond himself. There was a terrifying manic mascot named Mr. Blobby, very pink, bulbous, with a lot of clown-like features and a bow tie. It was a Teletubby-esque character that would make any child scream into the arms of their parents. There was a theme park based around him. After the television show Noel's House Party, which was a highly popular television show shown on BBC on Saturday nights. It ran for 8 years and started in 1992 on this fictional set of a village called Crinkly Bottom. It was hosted by Edmund. It featured a variety of celebrity guests and regular segments such as The Guns Tank and Gotcha. The show received a BAFTA award. And this show was even regarded as one of the best Saturday night entertainment shows of the early 90s. During the height of this show, it received millions of views, and the creator, Edmund, wanted to build a theme park based on this show and Mr. Blobby himself. The idea was to replicate Noel's wacky world in real life. His tumble-down manor house, just like on the set of the show, the hilarious entitled Crinkly Bottom, became at the center of what was hoped to be a successful branching out into the leisure industry, so that there was a tangible extension to Edmund's brand in Mr. Blobby. One site popped up at Cricket Park in Cricket Street, Thomas, Somerset, in the grounds of his existing manor house. These grounds were built in Dunblobin, the home of Mr. Blobby and Noel's pink sidekick. The design was out-of-shape furniture, chintzy, like think Pee Wee Herman gone wild. The outbuildings made up of Blobbyland, which also featured picnic areas, food stalls, areas for the arts and crafts, and watching wildlife. It was expected to produce a lot of money. In 1986, the Cricket Street Thomas Wildlife Park was home to all sorts of animals. In the next decade, there were cafe shops, restaurants, miniature railways added to the park, and by the time the 1980s had arrived to the park, it was one of Somerset's most popular tourist attractions. So in 1993, when the House Party's television show with Mr. Blobby, there was a deal created with the park owners John Taylor to turn the park into Mr. Blobby's hometown village of Crinkly Bottom. The wildlife section of the park will remain with multiple attractions, including the planned replica of Mr. Blobby's home, a replica of the Grey House from the television show that millions of pounds were put into. By signing the contracts in 1994, work began on the construction of the park. Its first attractions were Mr. Blobby's house in Naughty and Toy Town, after opening officially in May of 1994. The official opening was the week of July 1st, and they expected this park to outlive the creators and everyone and produce a lot of money. This park was just a very odd mixture of not only Mr. Blobby, but wildlife attractions and things such as a Crinkly Bottom safari ride. They renamed a railway as the Crinkly Bottom Railway and Mr. Blobby shows. And of course, Mr. Blobby himself's house, which was called Dunblobbin. Since Mr. Blobby was one of the most famous characters in the United Kingdom in the early 90s for some reason, either you loved him or hate him, he had musical singles, music videos, and he was very much loved. I feel like all over the world in the early 90s, we all had a really creepy mascot or TV show such as this, not only in the United Kingdom. But now he had his very own theme park, and on opening days, the house was located on the outskirts of the park. It used to be previously home to monkeys. These homes looked very much like Mickey and Mickey's Toontown from California's Disneyland. They were built out of chicken wire and polystyrene, and you could be able to enter the house itself and see the settings of the most photographed and famous part of Crinkly Bottom. Even when the house was condemned, they could hear the Blobby theme and the door bow chow in Blobby Blobby from their homes. And the house featured a comical aspect for as far as through travelers of each's room oddly advertised attractions and openings from the shows. You could walk through different scenes of the shows to Naughty Stories and Mr. Blobby himself. Animators even designed these sets and figurines. This village was very fun and large, and people wanted to get pictures of Crinkly Bottom. But this was definitely the oddest children's play area you would ever visit. There was a host of ball poolsides, tunnels, and even some shopped in small shops, a gun factory, a potty plan shop. Mr. Blobby would also stop by to visit the park and enter different live shows. And people would come from all over the country to see and meet Mr. Blobby. There was even more attractions addition to this theme park of like water rides. And some of these rides were themed as Noel's house party set before, heading off into the attraction of a giant television show set, which it looked like the TV was smashed open as you passed through this water ride. Almost like you were entering the television show itself. You would even see remnants of like the Doctor Who TV show at the finale of this ride. But this park was allegedly built without the full planning of the issues was when it dropped. It was just the start of parts of different problems of the park, starting with the mistreatment and accusations of mistreating elephants in the wildlife parts of the park. Neighbors that lived near this park often complained about noises. The park's first season alone had 500,000 guests. It was very popular when it was first opened. In no time at all, Edmund pushed to build a replica of this theme park, of the great house of the TV show, but each town vetoed by the Somerset County Council. By the end of its second season, the park was welcomed over 1 million guests by 1996. Though Mr. Blobby was no longer as popular through the UK, in the 1996 season, the park was rebranded as Cricket St. Thomas Wildlife Park. Entry fees were lowered due to the licensing constraints through Mr. Blobby. Although he remained through the park until 1997, that was decided that Mr. Blobby will be removed because losing popularity of the Crinkly Bottom era. Mr. Blobby's house was closed, and signs related to Mr. Blobby were covered. And then Naughty Friends events were held in the Blobby house. But they closed the final rooms of the TV favorite rides of Noel's house party to secure featuring Naughty, this character, and Big Ears and live shows within the park. To stop performing the end of its show was not quite working out the way he thought it was. Edmund said that it was the end of the era for the BBC television show. It was then that the park couldn't recover from its financial difficulties. Mr. Blobby was just not popular anymore. The Crinkly Bottom had reached an end of an era. The families that brought Mr. Blobby to life tried to escape the shadows of this financial strain. They put this estate on the market for sale for around £8 million. Not long later, it was purchased by Warner Holidays and planned a grand revamp with the removal of all the things related to become a hotel and wildlife park, and Crinkly Bottom and Naughty were also closed in 2001. It became a weird mixture of hotels and safaris, continued through the 2000s with Warner Hotels. But they recently realized that Dunblobin missed the Blobby's house because it was abandoned when the reconstruction of the hotels were made. Nature overtook it within the years. It looks very haunted, very creepy. There's been many urban explorers coming to this area to film YouTube videos and explore, saying that it's very haunted and that ghosts lurk within Mr. Blobby's theme park that's been abandoned, slowly decaying and vandalizing until it was finally demolished in 2014 after years of sitting. It was such a popular photographed icon, and it was remembered for very happy memories, but became very sad and creepy abandoned place. There were VHS tapes titled Mr. Blobby was also released within the year 1994, Blobby Mania. It's so weird to see things not looking the same at this theme park. It's so odd that this bow tie wearing monstrosity even recorded a song that became the UK's first Christmas #1 single in 1993, even had its own theme park. Left Behind was the brainchild of the British comedy writer Charlie Adams, led to a raft of predictable associated toys and merchandise. As the hopefulness of the 1990s transitioned into a fearful and concerning new century, the memory of these wonderful parks faded into the ether. That is until a group of so-called urban explorers stumble upon the spooky, ruined remains of this 1990s most widely forgotten business ventures. Photographers and explorers took the abandoned park in 2009 to show what was once a pink and yellow paradise now looks more akin to something out of a terrifying Hollywood horror film. This park once offered lavish accommodations, in which it was called Dunblobin, also known as Crinkly Bottom Noel's House Parties, also known as Blobbyland. In addition, it used to have a working doorbell that when it was pressed, it gave a familiar blobby, blobby, blobby cry, which used to thoroughly annoy local residents who lived near this park. Photos reveal that once would have been a dreamlike Mr. Blobby themed bedroom was now covered with mold and rubbish, whilst adjacent to the Blobby shop looked more likely to contain ghouls and ghosts than Blobby themed gifts and confectionery. Faded maps of the park revealed that it once contained delights such as sea lion show, it had a train ride, it had animals, a Farthing Wood attraction, and even a safari tour that promised real-life deers and leopards. Unfortunately, by the time this discovery had been made, the only animals left in this slice of the 1990s history were the wildlife. Woodlands once had long since made their homes in the park's abandoned shelters and crevices. Urban explorers were enamored with their find when they stumbled across Blobbyland, covered by all of nature taking its course over it. So they decided to leave their mark by graffitiing messages onto some of the decaying walls. The park was eventually demolished in 2014, but not before the photos encouraged a number of nostalgic thrill seekers to take their time to the deserted remnants of one of the childhood's most treasured pink and yellow memories. Farewell, Mr. Blobby, you may rest in blobby peace. I don't know about you guys, but Mr. Blobby will definitely haunt my nightmares. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Phantom Curiosities and sleep well tonight. Visiting and learning about Blobbyland and this abandoned, haunted theme park is very, very interesting to me, and I hope it interests you as well. Leave a comment down below on what you would love to see on Phantom Curiosities in the future. I hope you enjoyed watching. You could definitely subscribe for videos every week here Friday on this channel, and I will see you guys in another episode later on. See you soon. Sweet dreams. Bye.